you lot. So, what have we got here? We've got ourselves a rather dandy STHIL FS300 Strimmer. Don't know how old this one is. It might be somewhere. It's made in Germany, as we know anyway. That's where STHILs are made. I'll have a look in closer detail in a minute. But it's an FS300, very, very nice strimmer. It's complete with everything apart from the harness, but I'm sure the harness is somewhere. Now this isn't mine, it's a neighbour of mine down the road, and the story goes it sat in a shed for a god knows number of years, and all of a sudden it needs to be used, and now apparently it doesn't start. So I suppose we're going to see if we can get it to start. Apparently there's not even any life with it. Now when he dropped it off with some Chinese spark plugs. I don't think they're going to be all that good. Manufacturer name Shiji Hanmi Tianjin. Yeah, well, they might be, they might work, they might not. The first thing a lot of people do when they get something that apparently doesn't actually run, they don't even try it themselves. They just start taking things apart, but there's no need for that. I mean, if you can try to start it and it'll start, then there's no need to take it apart, is there? But one thing I've noticed, first thing, there's no petrol in it, so let's get some petrol. Now this here, this is 2-stroke petrol. I don't know what amount of oil's in it, but it's 2-stroke petrol that I use for my strimmers. Nice blue oil. I'll put a little bit of that in. It should be enough for it to be picked up. We've got, well, the primer bulb. The primer bulb is rock solid. That's choke closed on. That's choke off. This primer bulb is absolutely rock solid. So that might be part of the problem. It's going to need a primer bulb because it's just split. So that's going to be part of the problem. But we might be able to get it to run. If we can get it to run, then we know there's no other issues apart from it needs a new primer. And the way we can get it to run, as long as we've got spark, looks like we've got a relatively brand new air filter in there, so whenever it was used last it had a new air filter. We get a little bit of stuff, spray a little bit of stuff in there, and let's see if we can get it to fire. Start and on, here we go. Doesn't sound very good, does it? Well, it shouldn't sound like that. All the compression's leaking out somewhere. Alright. Fair enough. Let's get some sockets and we'll take off the cover. Now I've lost most of the little, well, I've lost a couple of the little things out me little thing here. Now what's the chances of this being the ones that I've lost? Oh, it might be that one. Or it might be the one down. Oh, it's the one down. Happy days. So it's not the one I've lost. Don't know how I managed to lose them. I lost an 8mm socket. I lost else have I lost? I've lost spanners and things. I think it's where I leave them on the skull panels of cars, and I don't do it on purpose, obviously, you know, but I've often done a load of work on my car, driven down the road, and you hear ting 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 and then you think, oh, what was that? So you stop and have a look down the road, but you can't see anything. But that's that gone then, that's that socket gone, that's that, you know, spanner gone. Ding 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 ding, gone. I don't think there's any more bolts holding this on. I think this is probably the only two. There might be some more, I'll have a look. There's bound to be some more. What else is holding this on? What is that? Just need to get this cover off so I can see. That's all been sanded off there, look. I wonder if this has been nicked in the past and there was a name or something written on there and it's been sanded off. Anyway, let's get this cover off. Now, it's rather handy that there happens to be an exhaust line on the floor, so that means I can lean it on this exhaust and I can raise it off the ground ever so slightly. Makes it a little bit easier. Let's get this pull start off and see what's behind here. Should be able to get this off now. Shouldn't be anything else holding this on, I don't think. They don't make that easy, do they? That's it, you bastard. So, got a little compression relief on here. When that's pushed in, that relieves the compression, and when it's pulled out, we got compression back. Now we've got the cover off, let's put this pull start back on so that we can pull it. Let's put one of the bolts back in. In fact, we might have to put two of the bolts back in. And while we're here, we can see if it'll start. And if it won't start, we can see if it'll have any spark. The good thing is, these little engines are relatively simple. There's not a lot to them at all. What's going on there? Oh, it might be because I've done it up without that cover on. It must be a bit of a spacer. Oh, it fired. I don't know whether you heard that, but it fired. There we go. So the problem was that compression relief was in and I couldn't get it with my fingers. That's why I took that cover off to have a look at it. Couldn't quite get to it with my fat fingers. So that was the problem. Now if we can get it to run long enough, to suck in some petrol because the primer bulb isn't working. It's got a bit of a hole in it, so that might be sucking in air now. But it'll need a new primer bulb anyway, but they should be relatively easy to get because all they are on these is a little clipping thing with a pipe on the end of it. Huh. Well, it did run. Let's have a little look and see if we've got any spark, because we had fireage a minute ago and all of a sudden that's gone. So well, it might just be really flooded. Give it a little bit of a clean off with the old cloth. And then like that. Now you tell me, can you see any spark? Oh yes, there's certainly spark. Without a doubt there's spark. And the engine itself does sound healthy. And if you look in there, you won't be able to see. But you can see the compression relief working. Don't know why you need compression release on these anyway. You never do, even when they're brand new, they're not hard to pull. But they do insist on sticking it on. Don't know why. Obviously some people complain and go, oh, it's hard to pull over, so can you do something about it? So what they do is they just stick a compression relief on there, which is unnecessary. That's very strange. I've got spark, but it won't fire now. Let's check this spark again. See if there's something fishy going on, because that should fire on that easy start. Looking at the amount of petrol coming out of there, obviously mixed with a bit of easy start, I'd say it was quite flooded. It's actually got an NGK plug in it already. I might open up them Chinese ones just to see what they look like in a minute. But generally we don't want to be trusting the Chinese plugs because they're just no good. Should be relatively unflooded now. Let's see what happens. If this doesn't work, I'll have to delve a little bit deeper. Well, that's not good, is it? What's going on here then? Tell you what I might do. I might go and get a drill and stick a socket on the end of the drill, and we should be able to turn it over with the drill then. It'll be a lot easier than trying to do this with the pull start, because without that top cover It doesn't really work. I'm just mending a strimmer at the moment. Alright.
Daddy, I'm waiting for get your coffee.
Oh, okay, yeah, don't trip it up. Right, let's see what happens if we turn it over with the drill. No, I'm not.
That's a bit noisy.
Yeah, it is a little bit noisy, isn't it?
What are you pressing?
Hmm?
What are you pressing?
What am I pressing?
Yeah.
I'm just pressing the start button.
Oh, that hurt my ear.
Did it?
Yeah.
Right, let's see if we've got any spark again. Put that on there like that.
Again.
You should be able to see. Definitely got very, very, very good spark. We've got loads and loads of petrol coming through. Far too much petrol. So I reckon the diaphragm inside this carburetor
Daddy.
is
Daddy.
probably a little bit crispy.
Daddy.
What?
Back the gas on.
What?
Back the gas on.
What?
Back the gas on.
It's too late for that now.
I'm not got back the gas on.
Right, let's see.
I'm not.
Right, we're going to have to take apart that diaphragm and have a little look to see what's going on with the diaphragm. I reckon it's a little bit crispy. It's bloody manic. And the little minions are, they want to know, you know, they're interested in all this kind of stuff. So they come in here and they want to know everything. So they sit there and they watch me as I take stuff apart to mend it. Anyway, let's take this bolt off. Someone's been in here before because we got
Daddy.
two odd nuts.
Daddy.
I would say that's probably the one that should be on there.
Daddy.
That's an odd one that shouldn't be on there.
Daddy.
Yes, minion.
I play ball.
Let me just try and see what's wrong with this, and then we'll go and have a play with some ball. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
And who wins?
Yeah, we'll see who wins.
Buddy, who wins the front, the goal is winner.
Okay.
Who has got point lost. You got 2, 1 is winning, and you got 2 you winning, and you got 3 you winning, and you got 4 you're winning, and you've got 5 you're winning, and you've got 10 winning.
Okay. Right, nuts and bolts are off. There's one little one there with a little thing on it. So let's take that off of there. That should come off of there now. What I need to do really is I need to clean the bench up so I can actually put this on the bench. Because it'll be a lot easier to take this apart on the bench than it is on here. Right. Let me get this little carburetor off. Someone's definitely been in here. That's the fuel line. Let's try and get that off. Don't want that on there. Right, one little carburetor. Now I reckon the little diaphragm in here is a little bit crispy, which means we're getting far too much petrol, which means it's flooded, and that will explain why it's not starting even with the easy start, because it's just too much. The plug's getting too flooded. Let's go and put this in a pot, give it a clean and see what it's like on the inside. Right, you look, more than a few days later now, and the parts for this are taking bloody ages. That's the trouble when you have to order something. I didn't even order it from China. The parts were coming from a lawnmower shop in Ireland, believe it or not. But it's taken absolutely ages, so let's take this apart and see if we can rescue the diaphragm that's in it at the moment, rather than just putting a new one. We might be able to rescue the one that's already in it. So we'll have a look. Give it a little bit of a clean with a toothbrush. If we can rescue the one that's in it, happy days. I mean, when the other one turns up, I'll assess it and see if it needs it or not, really. But this is an original carburetor. It's just original STHIL Zammer carburetor. So I don't even know really how old the FS300 is. I dare say there'll be some chainsaw or Strimmer or STHIL geeks out there that will know exactly how old an FS300 is, and if they even still make them, I don't even know. It might even be a relatively new one. But we'll find out. So I cleaned a lot of that dirt off of there now. Makes it a little bit easier to see what we've actually got going on. There's our throttle, and there's our choke. So I'll tell you what's quite interesting. The fact that it was just throwing in far too much fuel all the time. So that diaphragm could very well be split. So I'm going to get a decent screwdriver and we'll take off. We could take this top one off. Let's see, we'll take this bottom one off first and we'll see what's going on under here. It might be alright, it might not be alright. And put that aside. Get a little bit of, I ain't got a lot of space on this bench. I keep saying to myself, right, get a tidy bench, keep a tidy bench. But it keeps getting filled up with all sorts of stuff, you know, very unnecessary. Stuff all over the place. So we'll get a little bit of kitchen paper. What have we got this time? Pears. Got some pears this time. And we'll take out these screws and have a look to see what we've got going on this side, on the bottom. And then we'll have a look on the other side. The fact that normally it's the opposite. Normally you don't get enough fuel. So it'll start on the starting fluid, but they won't be able to stay running because it's not getting enough fuel. The diaphragm's gone brittle, gone hard, so it's not flapping up and down, doing its thing, letting the petrol through, sucking the petrol in, etc, etc. But on this we've got the opposite. It wouldn't start on the starting fluid. The needle valve's working fine. Well, I'd say that. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't even seem bad at all. Really. Can't see anything wrong with that, really. Bit WD-40. Sometimes WD-40 works its way in, soaks in, and loosens up these diaphragms. Sometimes. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you watch as I blow through it, ready? I'd say that's alright. It's interesting. Let's take off this one. Loads and loads of petrol in there. Now what's this one like? Oh, this one's a bit, it's full of stuff. We might be able to, I don't know if we're going to be able to rescue it or not. Let me see. I have got in a drawer, I've got a few little bits and bobs. We'll see what we can do. So in this box, it's just a box of random spare parts, because I used to buy and sell these strimmers and all different other ones and chainsaws, so I had loads and loads and loads of spare parts everywhere. And this is just what I've got left over. We've got needles, we've got seats, we've got filters, we've got gaskets, we've got loads of these little diaphragms and gaskets. I wonder if that one, no, that's nothing like it, is it? Absolutely nothing like it. We've actually got in here as well a whole carburetor, but it's completely different to this one, so it wouldn't be any good to us whatsoever. It's completely different. There's nothing the same on it whatsoever, so we wouldn't be able to use it even if we wanted to. But we might have, no, oh, that's that one. No, it's not, it's completely different, so that's not going to fit that either. No, that's also similar but completely different, so it's not going to be able to use any of it. That's a shame. So we're going to have to try and rescue what we've got, unless I might have something. Let me just have another check in the drawer. We might be lucky. I was just having a look in what I call my specialist drawer, the drawer which has all the specialist, thought I was leaking, which has all the specialist parts in it, you know, bits for the big spanners that are for Land Rover fans and only Land Rover, etc, etc. Made in USA. Made in USA? No way. Anyway, these are actual Walbro kits, gaskets. So what have we got? No, that's different to that. Those are not applicable. We've got all of these ones here, look. Nothing, that's obviously that would be the gasket for that, but that wouldn't fit that either. That's different. Different. Obviously entirely different, so none of those. What we got here, we've got some more needles, seats, etc. Ah, that looks like that's a shame. So we're not, I've got nothing here, absolutely nothing. I've obviously, these must be common carburetors then, because otherwise I'd have things, so I'd have diaphragms. It is quite papery now, I've taken it off. I don't reckon that's any good at all. That's a big part of the problem. So there we go. Right, let's put all these away, and then I am going to try and rescue what we got, because if I can get it to run with a dodgy carb, it might not be running very well, but if I can get it to run, at least that's a bit of a victory, and I'll know whether it's actually any good or not. The engine itself, the whole engine. So let's put all these away, and then we're gonna see if we can, in fact I think I'll soak that in a bit of WD-40 now, let it soak it up, let it loosen up, go soft again, because what happens is they go hard and brittle and then they don't work. I'm very, very certain that we don't have any blockages because definitely not got any blockages because we was getting far too much petrol come through. So I was very, very certain we haven't got any blockages. But it's always worth just blowing it through anyway. A bit of brake cleaner and a thing, and a bit of brake cleaner and a little spray thing. That lets that through and it all comes out the bottom here. So all this is working properly. So let's see. That's actually gone softer. It's not soft. It's still quite papery. But it's softer than it was. So let's put this back together. I mean, we're not going to be any worse off. Well, we could be worse off, but it didn't work, did it? So we're probably going to be in the same boat. So what have we got to lose? Absolutely nothing. We'll put that back on there. Stick that together. We'll put this bottom bit back in. Might soak it a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's very brittle. You know what I mean? I think that seems all right. But we'll see. I've said that before in the past. No, that seems all right. Yeah, that seems absolutely fine. That does. There's nothing wrong with that, is there? No. And still wouldn't work. Took it apart, put it together again with a new one, and it works like a dream. So we'll see. One thing I have got, which I'm sure you're all gonna love, is a brand new primer bulb, because this one's got a crack in it, if you remember. So with these, it's quite easy to change them. You just take that little bit of pipe off, then you've got this here with your, you've got your choke mechanism, your knob thing there, and your primer bulb here. Just have to get a pair of pliers, or you can do it with your fingers like I've just done. Push them little tab things in, that just pops out of there like that. And then to put the new primer bulb in, all you do is do the same. Obviously make sure you line up the little clips with that. Push it on. Happy days. Like that. There we go. Stick that on there. And obviously now that should be sucking up petrol. Well, it ain't going to work until I've got the other side on. But you know exactly what I mean. Right, let's put this carburetor back on. Gasket's already there. Gasket's looking wonderful. Can't moan about a nice gasket, can we? The gaskets are brilliant. Everybody loves a gasket. Gasket, gasket, gasket. Right, I can go that way around. Can you go that way around? Yeah, it can go that way around. Yeah, that's right. I can go that way around. I am sure someone's been in here before, but this is probably more than 20 years old, this Strimmer. I mean, it's got to be more than 20, definitely 100% more than 20 years old. So there would definitely have been issues with it in the past, you know. It would have had blocked carburetor or something had gone wrong with it. So yeah, it definitely have had to come off. But you can tell by the fact that there's two different nuts holding the carb on. Something is not quite right with it. Anyway, that's that. Now that one went on there as far as I can remember. Happy days. Right, so I've noticed that when you pull, I know it's a little bit premature because we haven't even got it running yet, but when you pull on the throttle, you only get about a quarter of the throttle. You don't even get all the way. It will go all the way, but the cable just doesn't pull it all the way, so I'm gonna have to try and adjust that at some point. But let's get her running first, and then we can worry about all that other kind of stuff and bits and bobs and rubbish. So, do we put this pull start back on again? Are we being optimistic? Because if we're being optimistic, I'll put it all together. The primer bulb now pumps petrol. If we're being optimistic, which I think we are, let's put everything back together and see what happens. Because if I put this on, then I can put the pull start on properly, because without the cover, the pull start gets jammed. Right, let's see if she's gonna go. Put it in start, choke is on, primed up. Let's see. Oh yeah. Very, very, very rich though. Pretty well. Don't like running if you ain't got that held down. Needs a bit of a tune, but at least now it runs, and it runs quite well. I think some of the problem was the carburetor was probably a little bit stuck. The diaphragm. Put that WD-40 on it, helped it out 100%. Now it's getting a bit late, so I can't run it too much. So that'll have to be later on, but I do just want to have a look in this handle to see if we can adjust the throttle, because there's no throttle adjustment down on the carb, but I want to see if we can do anything about it, because all it is just the cable is stretched. Look, the cable is just stretched, so we've got all that slack before it actually even pulls anything, and that means you only get that much. And that's just because the cable's stretched. But we might have a little bit of adjustment here, look. Possibly. This might be an adjuster. I'm not sure if that's an adjuster or not. No, I don't think it is. Don't think it is. But we might be able to... What can we do? What can we do? Other than getting a new cable, there must be a way of adjusting it. It might be able to go on there like that. Just need to work out a way of taking up all the slack on that so it actually pulls it when it so we get full throttle. Well, I didn't realise that little brass thing that I thought was an adjuster, it's actually supposed to be further down, so it gets caught in the bottom of the handle here, and as you do it up and clamp it, it doesn't move. And now let me just do this up and I'll show you. Now we've actually got full throttle now. That's all the throttle. I'm just looking down on the carb as I was pulling it, in case you're wondering why I went quiet. Yeah, now we've got full throttle, so that's that fixed. But I'm not going to be able to fire it up and give it a good old rev at the moment. That will be later on, because it's 10 to 9 in the evening and my neighbours are a little bit picky. The last time I was trying to mend a chainsaw for someone, I was out here minding my own business, fired it up and he filmed it, and then he had to go at me the next day. So it ain't worth the grief that you get. So I will wait until tomorrow. We'll fire up and give her a good old rev, try and get the engine running properly. Right, let's stop messing around. Strimmer's down there. All I've got to do, put the air filter on, put the last few bolts that hold the case together, and then we can fire up properly and see what it's actually going to be like. I've got to adjust the tick over a little bit as well because it's ever so slightly high. Blimey, what's that view like? It's quite a good view, that, isn't it? Being up there like that. Yesterday I was pretty pleased that actually was running, and it was running well. So just goes to show that you don't necessarily need to go and buy new parts and new stuff. You can definitely revive what you've got. 100%. You can revive things that you've already got. Should have another bolt somewhere. Air filter. I was going to put a new one in it, but this one looks good. I don't want this one at all, so we'll just put this one back in. There's no point in wasting a perfectly good filter. No need to change something that's still good for something that's new. I think we've established that by now. That's completely unnecessary. So we'll put the choke on, primed it a bit, put it in the start position, and we'll see what is going to happen. Is she going to go well today? Who knows? Well, we've established that the tick over is still really high and doesn't want to go down, but also the stop switch doesn't work, so I'll have to mend that. But it's alright, you can still stop it with the choke, don't need to necessarily have a switch for that. So let's have a little look inside this handle and see if we can work out why the switch don't work. Took this handle apart yesterday. The trouble was I couldn't see on that carburetor any way of adjusting the tick over. So I was thinking, but then again I was looking at the throttle and it does go all the way back, so there must be, but we don't need to look at the tick over. We're not going to need to look at the tick over. We're going in here to make sure that stop switch on the other side is actually connected and it's doing its thing, because all that should do is ground the coil out. I'm going to have to get the other set. Got a nice little set here. Don't use this very often because, to be honest, I forget I've got it. But this is the bollocks. This is the bollocks of a set, this one. got every little Torx bit that you could need ever. So we'll see what's going on inside here. I wonder if it's just not connected. Oh, I didn't take that bolt out. Didn't take that bolt out. I wonder why it was difficult to get. Alright. So it seems to be connected. That's funny, isn't it? We'll have to start it up like that and see what happens. Let's get a little bit of dielectric grease. I'm going to put a little bit of it on this contacts, because I just started it up and I put my fingers on it, and it's definitely got electric going through it, I can tell you that. Yeah. That's definitely doing its thing now. 100%. A little bit of that in there, because that's how it grounds it out. With that. A little bit of that around there like that. We should be able to put that back. Like that. And that should do its thing now. That should work now. Runs quite well now. Put that out of the way. A load of springs floating around. I think that's good enough. I still haven't managed to get the old stop switch to work. No matter what I do, can't get it to work. Maybe of all sorts, it must be disconnected down there. I can try and sort that out if need be, but you can always just turn it off with the choke. You don't need a stop switch really. Choke's more than good enough, and for those people that say turning it off with the choke floods it, that's a load of bollocks. That's not true at all. That'll start straight up again now. If I try and start it up now. Running like a dream. So there we go, that's that done then. A little bit of a recap. The compression relief was stuck in, so we got that loose. That now works. Not that you need compression relief. It's a small little two-stroke engine. I don't know why they put compression relief on those, but they do. The stop switch still doesn't work, but we're not interested in that anyway. The engine runs a dream. The problem with it was the carburetor. The little diaphragms were obviously too brittle, and they were stuck where they were letting too much petrol go through. Normally, it's the opposite. Normally, they stick and they don't let any petrol go through, but in this case it was the opposite. It was just flooding far too much. Putting those in WD-40 mended that. Happy days. Let's have a little look to see what these Chinese spark plugs actually are going to look like. I don't think I wouldn't put them in anything that I actually wanted to be reliable, but let's see what they actually are. L7T. Interesting. They'll be alright for something, you know, they would be alright in a strimmer. I mean, it depends how reliable you want it to be, but in my experience, these Chinese made plugs, I know you're going to say, well, a lot of them are made in China, they're probably all made in China, but let's just say the Chinese branded plugs, they're not very reliable. They can be working alright and all of a sudden they just drop out and go. So you do want to use an actual named brand, even though they probably do make them all in China, but it doesn't matter as long as you've got a named brand. But they'll be alright for a strimmer. If the plug gives up, put another one in. If that gives up, put another one in. Just keep putting plugs in it and happy days. It's a tricky one when it comes to plugs. Champion used to be reasonable in my opinion, but now they've gone rubbish. NGK used to be the ones to go for, now they've gone rubbish. Bosch are the only ones that I've found to be that stay reliable. But it is what it is. So there we go. If you like that sort of thing, stick around, treat people nicely, always treat people how you want to be treated, that way we'll all have a very nice happy life. Everybody's different, accept people are different and just carry on with your life. Don't worry about everyone else and we'll all have a good one. Cheerio you lot.